Welcome back to the studio here at the Engine Performance Expo. Hopefully everybody's doing great out there. Super excited about what we've got next. Lake, this is shows the power of the expo.
Exactly. So this is the second big new product reveal. And what was neat about this is something you guys have been working on for several years, because it's a problem that everybody has pretty much, but they don't really know that it's there.
And just before we say, I just want to build the credibility of the panel here.
Sure.
Among the four of us, there are 5 Super Comp World Champions.
And they're neither from the ends.
No, they're all in the middle in the NHRA. All right, guys, what brings you in today? You're solving a problem that everybody has, and previously there wasn't really a defined solution.
You know, I think it's a great opportunity.
Gary Stinnett, Steve Williams, by the way.
Yeah,
exactly.
Introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
But, you know, first of all, thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
For myself, I missed PRI this year, so for me, it's kind of cool to, you know, stay connected. And,
The first one you've missed
since Columbus, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a long time, but, you know, having been in, you know, this is a passion of mine, you know, racing, just like everybody out there and all of us. You have a passion for the sport, many different ways, but engines have always been something that intrigued me. I'm not a professional engine builder, but we do build our own engines that I race with. And Gary and I have been friends for 25 years. And, you know, to shorten the story, as we've made our cars faster, and as obviously everybody knows, we make way more power than we used to make with the same size cubic inch engines we made 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Right.
But as we've gotten faster, 7 or 8 years ago, started noticing that there was this surface rust that started showing up inside of my engines. And I used to call Gary and complain, and we'd come up with different theories, whether it was cooling system related or multi-layer gaskets and all these different theories of what was happening. Why? And we're chasing it. Yep. And it was driving me crazy. And then, you know, nowadays, of course, we have really, really accurate bore scopes, much smaller. We can get in and see things that you didn't even see before, right?
Real for your iPhone.
And it's not very expensive, you know. For $50, you can actually look inside your engine. And while some of the things we tried and the different things that we tried to get rid of this problem, while it did make it better, it didn't eliminate the problem.
Right.
And as you all know, you know, when surface rust on moving components, they're not compatible. And I mean, having the background you have, the last thing in the world you want is, you know, any kind of oxide or contaminants other than what is already inside the engine that it naturally produces. You don't want to add to that problem.
No, right? The job of motor oil isn't just to lubricate. It's there to clean, cool, and prevent corrosion. That's this is one of its jobs, right? Transfer power and heat. So what's interesting about this time frame you're talking about is that, you know, chemistry has also been changing over time. You know, we go from old school refining techniques where things were solvent refined, and you had, you know, paraffins and other, you know, random chemicals in there that had what we call polarity. They had that tendency to cling to the metal sometimes, right? And they help protect a little bit. The other thing that came along is as we refine things better, you remove that, right? When you go to a full synthetic, well, it can make more power, which can help you with ET, help you with consistency, but a lot of that polarity goes away. And then because we're trying to make more power, we're putting more stress on the parts. What we do is begin to put in extreme pressure additives, EP additives, right? This active sulfur. So now you have this sulfur source that's in the oil that's protecting the valve train, doing its job. Yeah. But now we have fuels. We're putting, to make more power, you got to use more fuel, which means we're making more water, because a byproduct of combustion, as Billy just said a minute ago, unscripted, unprompted, by the way, is water. Water's that thing you're making in combustion. So now all of a sudden you've got a source for water and a source for sulfur.
We've got sulfur. We got sulfur starting in a fuel, some amount that didn't get refined out. We have sulfur you're putting in the oil.
Yes.
Right?
Intentionally.
And so now when we get the sulfur in there, when it melts and it combusts and you add water, you have sulfuric acid.
Right.
Now we have sulfuric acid. It's only one of 3, because you have organic acid that comes from unburnt hydrocarbons, right?
Yep.
And then you have nitrogen acids that comes with the nitrogen. And 78% of the air going in your engine is nitrogen, right? And so now we have sulfuric acid. So your engine is actually a little acid production factory.
Oh, it's a great chemical reactor. I love engines from chemistry because it is a chemical reactor.
So now we race this thing all day and into the evening, put it away, And now we have condensation from the thermal temperature difference.
Right.
From outside, the drastic temperature drop, to now inside the cylinder wall. And when those guys start those race cars up after 3 months, when they all start the engines up in March, and it blows rust out the headers, it wasn't just from the headers, guys.
Right. Part of it's from the mild steel headers. Exactly. Part of it could be rust inside your cylinders.
Right. And why did the headers rust? From the sulfuric acid the engine produced. So we had the challenge of trying to come up with a formula that would work, that would stop the rust.
Because there's been things people have used for years, all kinds of cocktails of, WD-40, Marvel Mystery Oil, SimGuard. There's a lot of things people have used to try to combat this. But like you said, there's always seems to be some shortcoming.
Yeah, they always fall short. That's the problem. They're not dedicated to this exact purpose like we did. They are household solvents or household lubricants or farm store penetrating oils. They're not dedicated specifically for racing oil. What we have here is a photo of an engine that thing broke a crankshaft in a race car in Ohio, banged all the valves, and then so he wasn't able to fog it, turn it over. He put it in the crate, shipped it to me, and when we pulled the heads off from the Ohio humidity and all the acids, it ends up being a solid rusted cylinder wall. And what people don't understand, it doesn't hone out. You can hone it, and it looks like it's gone, but look under a microscope. Those plateaus are missing. There's particles of your cylinder wall missing, and
there's potholes in there essentially.
Exactly, there's potholes, and so we have dedicated ourselves to make a chemical that will stop or at least try to slow down any kind of corrosion. We made a corrosion inhibitor.
That's the key thing, and I know you're not the only person that's been asking for this or trying to solve this problem.
Right.
I know Keith Jones has been after me for years to come up with something, and we were always so busy doing other things and things like that. And John Kazi, I know John's watching. He's like, yes, I've been telling you to do this, because he's seen the same problem and has asked about it. So it's not just something. Here's a unique situation that it's only super comp cars or something that struggle with this.
Absolutely
and the fact that when Freddie Terz was here yesterday from VP, you start putting more oxygenates in the fuel.
MTBE.
Right?
Yeah.
The oxygenated fuels, well...
Methanol. Oh, it's horrible. Methanol is an acid, and ethanol, and I mean, methanol is more acidic than water.
Right.
So if you were going to try to rust something, you'd be better off putting methanol on it than putting water on it.
Right.
Yeah, so we've got some more photos here of cylinder walls that people tried to use, and some of the penetrating oils that did not do their job.
Keep in mind that you see this type of surface rust in a matter of hours, and then a couple of days. These aren't like weeks after weeks. You can go inside through the spark plug and look at a motor that's been shut off.
Right.
And you'll see surface rust no matter whether the water, any of the coolant ever leaked in the motor.
Oh, exactly.
Either through condensation or through these acids that accumulate, right?
Oh, and just back to the fuel for a minute, and we're not bagging on any kind of fuel and saying any kind of fuel is bad.
We don't want to go backwards, like.
Right, no.
We want the power.
We want power, exactly, yeah. Oxygenated fuels help you make more power, period. They're a good thing. But I remember an instance several years ago at Gibbs, because NASCAR runs, E15, so it's 15% ethanol.
Yeah.
Well, one of the drums of fuel was stored by the wash bay. Even though the seal was on it, right, it could still breathe the moisture.
Yeah.
And that fuel was so full of water that when we ran the engine on the dyno, brand new engine, they finished running the engine, did the 30-minute break-in, a couple sweeps on it and all that, and the guys shut it off, went to lunch, and they came back and they pulled the valve covers off after being gone for 1 hour. Pulled the valve covers off to go run the valves, and there was flash rust on all the valve springs, which ruined the valve springs. They're junk. And it was like, what's going on? And we pulled a sample of the oil. It was still warm enough. By the time I got back to my office and took from the dyno cell, which had some heat in it, got it upstairs to my office where it was cool, within 20 minutes I could see free water standing at the bottom of it, because that water, when it's emulsified in, you can't see it. And only when the temperature allows it to separate out can you see that water. So that's another example of it can come from a lot of different places, but you have to have something to fight against that.
Yep.
And that brings us to this big moment that you guys tackled the challenge, right? Gary, you guys are both out there at the NHRA running at 8:30 in the morning a couple of times, then late at night, then it's time to put the car away. You got to fog it down at the end of the day. If you want to prevent this, you didn't have a product. You guys elected to solve the problem. You partnered up, and now this is real.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear. This wasn't something, while it may have started at a very grassroots level in our garage, and he and I worked on this for over 2 years.
Right.
And the beginnings of it wasn't very successful because we believe, whether you're using household lubricants or some industrial, it always fell short of where we needed to be. So we started from the opposite spectrum, which is what kind of products could we develop that actually contain or eliminate rust or in the environment instead of lubricating. And then we built the lubrication into the product.
Okay.
So we started with, let's get something that will
stop rust.
Stop the rust.
Right.
And then let's get some lubrication. And then we actually put an accelerant in it so that when you go to start the engine after it's been stored, whether it's a day or 2 or a month, 6 months, the motor will actually fire right back up. It has accelerant in it. But I think the key thing is when you think about this product, it's tailored. A lot of times in this industry, the solutions to problems actually come from the people with a passion and participate in the sport. And this was something that was driving me crazy because when I look at it, I run the same 622 cubic inch motor that I ran 10 years ago. It makes 200 more horsepower.
Right.
Where did that come from? It came from way better total seal rings. It did.
Yeah.
It came from lighter components. Being able to run the engine instead of stopping making power at 7,500 goes all the way to 8,400.
Yeah.
That's where the power comes from, right? Well, guess what? I'd start noticing I'd lose not only vacuum, I'd lose ring seal, the car would start slowing down. We have to build engines that last, it's not quite at NASCAR 500 miles, but we don't want to be rebuilding these motors in a year. We want to run all season long. Well, my car's slower at the end of the year. There's no good reason for that. It's not enough time. Well, guess what? This problem was taking away all of the advancements of the better, way better cylinder rings than we had before.
And if you're having to chase the engine slowing down, now when you're trying to run your number, and you've introduced a variable that you can't control.
Absolutely.
And you have no idea when it's going to hit, how hard it's going to hit, but it affects your ability to be competitive in what you're doing.
And the atmosphere that you guys are racing in, every sportsman racer or every grassroots racer knows that the environment isn't conducive to protecting your $25,000 to $50,000 engine, right? You're putting it away at night. You're keeping it inside a trailer, at least for the 5 days that you're at the racetrack. So some bit of insurance. So what is the process like? How would you go about using the product in a way to protect your engine?
So there's several different ways to use Fog It, and you can start with your driver pulls up to the trailer. He's going to drive it in the trailer. You can simply spray it down through the carburetor with the engine running.
Okay.
Or if you shut it off and get out your one-man show or whatever, and you let it set a while, you can just crack the throttle open and have somebody spin the motor over and spray it down through there with the engine off, with the ignition on. And third way is that you can pull the spark plugs out and shoot it with the smart straw.
Right.
And shoot it in there about 3 to 5 seconds per cylinder and turn the engine over. And the last, and what we do every day on the dyno, is pull the header off and just bump the motor over until the exhaust valve is open and spray it right in the cylinder.
Yep.
So
that's an easy way to do it right there.
And if it's long-term storage, we recommend that. If it's the end of the season, you're starting the next season, we recommend you pull the spark plugs out or go through the exhaust ports.
If you got it out of the car, then it's a no-brainer to put it through.
Yep.
But it isn't just for racers. This is for all the engine builders. You pull the engine off the dyno, and you're going to put it in a wooden crate and ship it. I mean, we've shipped engines to the Persian Gulf, right? And you're going to ship them somewhere. You want to protect it. To get it there, it's a $50,000 piece or whatever it is. So it's not just for racers, the engine builders. It works in the shop. You cut a real nice set of valve seats, right? And if you live in the Midwest where there's humidity, you can possibly come in Monday morning and find the seats you cut Friday are rusted already. And so the other chemicals maybe will work for a day or two, but they don't have. What we built into this product is a cling factor. That was important. You spray a penetrating oil on a cylinder wall, it'll be all right for a day or two. It's going to run off. We have a cling factor, so it'll stay around. We had to work really hard to get the exact viscosity we needed, because there are marine fogging oils, but you can't spray them through the carburetor. They'll just make a puddle of goo at the bottom. So we had to get the viscosity right, we had to get the cling factor right, and we had to get the corrosion inhibitor right. And we weren't worried about lubrication, but guess what? When we got all done with it, it's a great lubricant too. I've used it for, reaming metering block main wells or anything. It works great.
Cool.
But it works on your mill table. You've
Oh,
got
yeah,
a Bridgeport
yeah.
mill, a lathe, or whatever. And he just recently did it. He washed a block, which we do daily.
Everybody here's washed a block.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it tries to
Notice
flash
within
rust.
like what, 30 seconds?
Oh, yeah.
It starts to serve.
Yeah.
Well, this stuff on a rag, cylinders, it's unbelievable.
All right, good to know.
And then it cleans also. So
I think one thing to kind of bring up, because some people are like, well, I've never seen this before. Maybe I've never experienced this problem.
Yeah.
But one thing about drag racing that's different than other forms of endurance racing is the fact that you are cranking the engine up, running it for a short period of time, and shutting it back down.
Yeah.
Okay, so that type of environment amplifies this. It still can happen everywhere else.
absolutely.
But in your application, because it's such an extreme situation to be in, it was a problem you faced literally
Right.
every day.
It's a heat cycle.
Right.
Hot, cold, put it away, let it sweat in the trailer all night.
Which is what's going to make this problem worse.
Yeah.
Which is, and I've seen it from the oil analysis side a lot. The collector cars that are kept in storage, which are driven only short distances, usually not brought up the temperature and all that, that's where you see the most fuel dilution, you see the most water getting into the oil from condensation, because if they're literally driving the car in and out of the shop,
Yeah.
Oh, I got one. I got a picture of that.
That will kill the engine. I mean,
I think you
that
got it right
short
here.
trip driving, this is the one right here?
Yeah. That picture is a race car that the guy had in his shop that he drove out every day to the street to use his shop for a mechanics bay, and at night would pull it back in. And he thought, well, I got antifreeze in it
Oh, goodness
day in and
golly,
day out
yeah.
for the whole winter. And then he finally says, I think I need the engine freshened, and he pulled it to me, and that's what we found. I mean, the pistons are destroyed, the cylinder wall, and all that. So when you can't see in there and you're just pulling the vehicle in and out, now everybody's going to ask, well, why doesn't my pickup truck
Right.
do this? Why
Yeah.
the street car? Well, we go back. It's unleaded fuel, and it has. What does it have in it, Mr. Chemist?
Oh, unleaded fuel?
Yeah,
Oh, I mean, so you have detergent additives in the fuel.
exactly. They actually have corrosion chemicals,
they do.
anti-corrosion. They have. It's a dirty fuel by nature. It's cheaply made, right? Sometimes in some places, last year or two, it cost less to buy a gallon of gas than a glass of iced tea.
Well, you think about if you go to a gas station, right? And I actually, not promoting them in any way. It's just one of my fuels of choice for driving my car is the Shell V-Power, right? Because I know the detergent package in there is really good. And on the little placard on the pump, you'll see that they have highlighting their ability for corrosion protection. That top tier fuel, that better additive package, because the base fuel is the base fuel. That's what comes out of the pipeline. The different brands of fuel typically have their own detergent package, and some of companies that do. And that V-Power, like I said, they highlight the fact they have superior corrosion protection, and you can see from the regular fuel to their fuel the photos when they do the corrosion test, because that's a big thing. I mean, as when we formulated the driven carb defender products and that, we put a corrosion inhibitor in there and made it pass a saltwater rust corrosion test, because the regular fuels don't have that, and race fuels don't have that because they don't want to put anything in there that's going to be in the way
Of making power.
Exactly.
And same with the oil.
Exactly.
Thanks to you and
we did.
And the driven oil.
Right.
You guys stripped all that out.
Right.
You took the headliner out, the door panels out. You made this race oil faster.
Exactly.
But guess what? We have no protection.
Right.
So I mean, we got to blame somebody.
Oh, that's
We're
true.
blaming you for stripping out of the oil, and you got Steve Burns for stripping everything out of the gas.
Right.
We got Keith to blame at Total Seal, making a better ring.
Right.
And we now have bow tie blocks or dart blocks or whatever. In the 70s and the 80s, you didn't have this problem. You tore a race engine apart. The piston had oil on top of it. You had a stock block that after 30 runs was out of round already.
So it had the ability to put oil wherever it wanted.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
The cylinder walls weren't near as round as they are. The rings didn't seal as well. So it had a natural preventative lubrication on the cylinder.
And back to, you had moly rings,
Yep.
which would hold oil, and now we've got steel rings that do a much better job, but they don't hold oil.
Exactly. So we have, evolution of the racing engine in all forms, from dirt track to tractor pulling to motorcycles. All of them have evolved to better seal a drier engine. I mean, our exhaust ports now, when we pull a new engine off the dyno, are completely bone dry and are beautiful, right? Honing techniques and diamond stones and all that's better. But so now we've created a new problem with the acid. We are going to we spent time. I came up with a bunch of different formulas I tried over and over and over. And finally, we came up with something that really worked good, right, in our home, right, in my house. And then we went to the manufacturer that actually produces the chemical for us.
Right.
We've got, what, 18,000 gallons sitting at the canning place right now. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it wasn't like 2 or 3. I mean, it was hundreds and hundreds of formulations.
I totally know.
I mean, we talked about it the other night. The hardest thing about this is to commercialize it.
Yes.
Because you can do it in a smaller form for personal use. But boy, when you try to commercialize it and then refine it so that you can actually provide it.
Yeah, so a guy in California can use it?
That's the first thing. When we had our big meeting in Minnesota, and the guy said, "Let me see your formula," and I slid it to him, and he started laughing. He goes, I said, "What's so funny?" He goes, "That ain't getting in California."
You can't ship that chemical.
And then the second thing he says, "And what are you putting that in there for?" And I told him, he goes, "Well, that's going to kill you." Kill you.
That showed our lack of chemistry. We have basic knowledge.
But that's why we went to the professionals. Exactly. So they worked with us for another year and a half. We tried many samples, and we coordinated our efforts back and forth. They did independent rust and corrosion tests in-house, saltwater tests, and they said this is it, and we agreed. We tried it, and we've been using on our own stuff for a year now, so we're ready to put it out there.
And
That's
so
awesome.
people out there, what's really funny is that as questions were coming in, you guys were knocking them down. Like, is this just for automotive engines? No. Is this for, can you use this in a dyno room on component parts? Can you use it? Boom, boom, boom. People wanted to know the name of the product, which of course is Foggit. But I want to know, you guys are bringing this to market soon. You wanted to bring it forth here at the Engine Performance Expo and get to these viewers. Why?
This is, we want to get in the shops at the ground level. We want the technical people, we want the engine builders, we want all of that to get hold of it. They're going to be our best mavens to spread the word to all the end user, the customers.
Well, they understand the problem.
They understand the problem.
At a detailed level.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you, nobody.
They've all seen this.
Yeah,
right? Everyone that's built
ways,
engines
right?
has seen this at some point.
And some of us has blamed it on things that, maybe it was coolant system, maybe it wasn't.
Oh, guys said, like, I must have had a head gasket leaking or an intake gasket
Well,
leaking.
it's funny. I'm doing bad. I'm looking all around. So this picture right here looks amazingly similar to a picture that Chuck Lynch, who's here, sent me last week. He said, "You ever seen this before?" I said, "Oh yeah, see it all the time with methanol engines." Yeah. Yep. That's common. That's not an uncommon thing that can happen. So I think that's part of it. And like you said, it's not just for race engines. The race engine community guys will understand the problem, so they can completely catch on to why they need to be using it. But I mean, think about snowmobiles and any kind of seasonal
chainsaws.
equipment.
Oh, I mean, we've already had people using it in chainsaws.
Yeah,
I mean,
we sell VP racing fuel to guys that run chainsaw. They said it runs better and cooler and all that. But guess what? It's going to rust if you don't fog it.
Yeah.
So in today's world, we're all, and there isn't anybody that doesn't understand supply chain issues right now. I mean, everybody's struggling, and so
we have a roundtable on that later today.
Well, we have been working on this for so long, and like Gary said, I mean, we have 18,000 gallons ready to go into filling. Finally, have our containers. We have to start out with a different straw because these straws take 27 weeks to get because they're so backed up because of
used to be what they told us 3 weeks.
Used to be 3 weeks supply. Right. So. We're going to have product and going to be shipping product in early March, but we felt like this was an awesome opportunity to make people not only aware, and consumers, a lot of them don't understand this is happening. And if you're spending $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a race engine, this is what's happening to your motor. And so we really felt like this was a great avenue to get the message out there and go, look, we've worked hard, we've been committed to this. I've launched plenty of products in my career. The devil's always in the details.
Yes, sir.
Packaging never goes as fast as you want it to, neither does anything else. But it just seemed like a great opportunity to go, you know what? The way you sell products, in my opinion, is you solve problems, And I think what we're trying to do today is we think we've come up with a great solution. It doesn't mean that other products can't do something to help, but we feel like it falls short. We think our product is going to be the best product, and it's targeted. And then the other is we want to get it out to the engine builders, to the dealers, because we want to affect their consumers in a positive way and solve this problem. Now, it's not in our best interest to have all the people we compete against go faster and faster, but that's not the point.
Right.
The point is we feel like, we've been friends for 25 years. We approached this in not just, a backyard way. We approached it in a very scientific way. We think we've built a great product.
So you guys have already, made many sales, obviously. People want to know, they already want to know, okay, where do we get it? How do we get it? Is there going to be a website? Is this going to be online distribution? Are you going to have it in various places? And I think the answer is probably all of the above at some point.
Yes.
But talk about your distribution strategy, and for the people out there that are interested right now, give them a timeline and give them some basic steps for when they can actually get a hold of Foggit.
Well, we are going to have a website. It's going to be foggit.com.
Foggit.
Foggit.
Okay.
Yep, foggit.com. Just on the shirt here. But we're having a progressive distribution strategy. It's going to be available directly to engine builders. One of the guys I've worked with for years, Greg Boutte, been around the industry for years.
Yes,
he races. He's semi-retired. He's going out on the road. He's going to start visiting a lot of people that are on this broadcast.
Right.
We're going to make it available. Our goal is to push it through this channel of engine builders and distributors. While we may have one master distributor that helps us, because Gary and my race shop is, not the place we're going to be shipping out product, but and then at the same time, we're going to post contingencies. We're going to start in NHRA. It's
that's great.
It's our backyard. We know it the best. We're going to move it through into other forms of racing. So our goal is to actually not only get people using this product, but when they win races, we'll pay them. And so we feel like contingency programs are a great opportunity to give back to the racers when they race and they win. And I think they become, along with the engine builders, our best salespeople.
Excellent. You guys have done a great job with this. And what's funny is that this is a subject that keeps coming up, right? You've spent time, money, effort, you've gone through all this. You're doing it right now with the LS project that we have, and then you're going to leave it exposed to the elements.
Do you know how many engines I know that have been sitting for months through the last year through all this stuff that are going through my head? I'm like, oh my God, I need cases of this now.
What are you talking about? My Pontiac,
I need cases
my
of this
Pontiac
now.
is on the garage floor in South Florida by the garage door. I'm like, it's like, Dad, move the engine right now. Except don't do it, Dad.
Yeah. In a perfect world, we would have loved to have had it.
Right.
But it's some things are just out of your control. But we just felt like, you know what, we have the formula now, we have the actual product, we have the containers, it's in the filling, they're going to get inside, we're going to get shipments here in the next couple months.
Oh yeah.
So, but at the same time, you know what, let's start letting everybody know what we've been
wanted
working
to
on.
launch here because this is a very important show. This is right at the heart of our customer, our clients that we want. We would have liked to have had it at PRI, but it was just too far out.
Sure.
And we didn't want to wait till next year.
Oh no,
PRI
of course
SEMA.
not. Of course not.
So
no, I mean, thank y'all for doing this. I mean, as a future customer, I really appreciate this. Because again, I have engines that I know that I own that have not run in a long time, and they're in my dad's shop, and we do the best we can to try to make sure they're okay. But my gosh, this is fantastic, Dad.
Well, a couple more questions. First of all, Kyle Fickler out there just says, great job, guys. Great job to both of you. And Scott wants to know, does it burn away immediately once the engine is fired? Is there any residue that is left behind?
No. If you use it in a moderate amount, don't get carried away. You can overdo anything.
Right.
But if you do it for the 3 to 4, 6 seconds, and the next morning, and Steve loves this about it with the accelerant that's in it, you hit the start button and it lights. It's going to smoke. You're going to smoke your pit neighbor out for a minute, but it's going to clear up and it will not foul the spark plugs. If you drowned it, you use a half a can,
right?
You're going to have an issue, right? But if you use it correctly, spray it down the carburetor for 5 or 6 or 8 seconds, and
or manifold,
or intake manifold.
EFI systems, it's okay.
Yeah.
EFI approved, right?
Yeah. Or through the exhaust port, it burns off. It starts right back up, so it's great. I got asked this morning at breakfast. He said, "How many applications can you get out of a can?" Well, that depends on how many runs you make in a weekend,
right? Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Or how many cylinders it have. Guess what? It uses half as much with a 4-cylinder. I don't know why. And the tractor puller guys out there that you got 5 Hemis,
yeah.
You might use a can a weekend,
right? Exactly, yeah.
So,
but it's going to be targeted at about $20 a can.
That's very reasonable, actually.
And I do want to point out the fact that you can certainly use cheaper household lubricants and but we put the best products inside. We were saying, look, if it costs $40 a can, that's what we're going to do. But fortunately, it came in under $20, and we could put the best materials and not skimp on things that we know need.
Well,
to be
that's
in there.
the super important thing,
exactly.
right? Is
Yeah.
if you're gonna do it, you want to do it the best, and really, that's a fraction of a cost, right?
Yeah,
for most people, one can will last them a long time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, how much did you invest in your engine? Not just in cost,
Oh.
but in time and effort.
I mean,
Like,
thousands of dollars,
thousands
right?
of dollars. The time and the effort is people often don't quantify that somehow, some way. But for a couple of cans every couple of weeks or a couple of months, you're racing actively, and you guys have both been out there. For those that don't know, Lucas Oil Series racers in the NHRA, they're up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. There's still dew on the ground. The pit area is moist. I can imagine the damage that is happening, even if you do the best possible job.
But it's the same way even in the dirt track guys. They race late into the night and then put them in a trailer and crack open a beer. Just 1 second before you do that, please fog your engine, right? We got rules for life here, right? Number 1, say your prayers. Number 2, brush your teeth. Number 3, fog your engine. Right? Number 4, race and repeat. Right?
Exactly.
So we got to fog. And if you can't afford $20, then use something.
Right, do something.
I don't
Yeah.
care.
Well, I think about all the go-kart guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're running the Briggs engines and all that stuff, running on methanol late at night. I guarantee you, for a Briggs engine, that can last you all year.
Yeah. That's what I said. For junior dragsters, it'll last
Oh,
the
my,
season.
oh yes, exactly.
Well,
Junior
you know,
dragster
the
guys.
brush your teeth analogy,
Yeah.
right? Like something that you just do that's just part of life. You don't think about it. Nobody questions it. It's just something you do. Everybody does. This is going to become part of that
Exactly.
racing procedure.
What
like
you
when you
do-
go racing, at the end of the day, you fog your engine because that's just what you do.
Well,
Yep.
and you can make yourself hold each other accountable. 25 years ago when this problem started, and I've been a proponent of fogging engines for a long time, right? And I tell all my customers, they're tired of hearing it, right? But I told my partner at that time that was racing with me, I said, no matter what happens, if I lose, I'm ready to get out of there, I'm hungry, people are waiting, let's go to eat, let's go to eat. I said, make me fog it. Tell me, and he did. Sometimes I'll be like, it'll be all right. He goes, no, and you're right. Open the hood, spin it over, So you're going to have to maybe make your partner or somebody say,
Right.
we're going to hold each other accountable, but we have to take care of this engine. And to answer some more of your questions there probably is, I've even had people come to my shop now, they're kind of aware of it. We're in my hometown, what we're doing here, and they're like, well, it worked for guns. Well, absolutely. Guy last night said, I have a musket loader. Well, guess what gunpowder has in it?
Sulfur.
There you go. Right? So yeah, anything that you don't want to rust, this works. So use it a lot. We got to take care of the poor middle class Kansans that are starving to death.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it needs milk.
Use a lot. Spray it on your mill tables and your guns and whatever, your bicycle chains, whatever. I mean, it's a lubricant also.
Well, one thing too, back to the process of how you developed it, I think that's actually wonderful. That you just bootstrapped it. You did it yourself because the problem was in front of you. I think about my dad with the vintage go-karts.
Yeah.
We run methanol, and he is, between me and him together, iteratively have come up with our own little homebrew cocktail for flush oil.
Yeah.
Right? So we mix it with the gasoline. So we've got unleaded, non-ethanol, unleaded gasoline that we mix with our little house blend for two-stroke oil, and we use that to flush the engines because otherwise it'll kill the carburetors. The methanol will destroy the carburetor if you let it sit, and we've had to fight it too many daggum times. And we even found that if you had ethanol fuel in your flush mix, it will still kill your carburetor.
Right.
So you got to get all the oxygenates out, and you got to do this kind of thing. So hey, maybe there's another product for you guys for later on.
But what you're saying is it's true entrepreneurial spirit that built all these sports.
Right.
And sometimes you can get it so far, but then you have to take that professional engineering approach to get it to that next level, to be able to commercialize the product. Right?
Yeah, the solution, you're going to have to bootstrap it to get that solution.
Yeah.
Then you can refine it and perfect it for commercial distribution. Exactly. Which, again, I mean, hats off to you guys. I'm super proud of y'all. This is neat.
Yeah, and
Well, thanks for having us.
Debuted right here at the Engine Performance Expo, and I remember at PRI, Gary, you were like super excited. Like, can we come? I was like, yeah, I think you can. I think you can. And so, Steve and Gary, good luck with it. Everyone's very excited about it. Just it's now a reality, and just kind of working through. Nice little soft open right here. But I can't wait to be out at the racetrack and see people like actually using it. I'm sure that's going to be a big moment for you guys as well.
It'll be great.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Excellent. Well,
Thanks,
you, gentlemen.
guys.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
us.
it. Good luck with the product and
Thank
maybe an update in the future. Lake, how great was that?
That was awesome. It's cool. Debuting awesome, cool chemistry products here on the Engine Performance Expo.
Exactly.
Again, I'm George Bailey.
He's making it happen. It's a wonderful life. All right, coming up next, though,
Yes.
we're going to head over into the diesel world.
Oh, yeah. So went to Drew's place at D&J Diesel in Cambridge, Ohio. Home of John Glenn, by the way. How cool is that?
Very cool.
To work on some super high horsepower Cummins diesel. So stay tuned and watch this video.
What a day, what a day, what a day. Yeah, my brain is swollen. I've learned so much today.
They told us, don't start cars. We are not going to listen.